Welcome to My Wife is the MC. I'm DMV and you're watching
Husbando Homebrew,
a show where we take pop culture to pen and paper. So what have we got here today? First off, thank you for being here. This is part 3 of my Elden Ring Homebrew series where we'll be taking a look at a bunch of magic weapons and a few magic items from the game. If this is your first time here or this is your first time with my Elden Ring series, I have parts 1 and 2 linked down below, so be sure to watch those and come back here later. Alternatively, we'll be going through a small recap, but if you've already got a good understanding on how scaling in Ashes of War works, you can skip ahead and use the chapters or timestamps in the description.
Rules Recap.
Real quick, let's recap the scaling in Ashes of War rules. So for scaling, instead of using one stat to add to your attack and damage rolls, you instead use a weapon's scaling modifier, which is the total of 2 or more of your ability modifiers capped at a maximum value, and each individual weapon has different sets of max values. Next is Ashes of War. An Ash of War is a magic item that can be infused into a weapon. Each one grants an affinity, which significantly changes the stats and max values used for the weapon, as well as potentially adds a new damage type. Each Ash of War grants a Battle Art, which are special combat options that you can use at the cost of FP, which is a new resource. Quick sidebar, I updated how FP is calculated. It's now your level plus your proficiency bonus. Previously, it was just 2 times your proficiency bonus, and I felt that it was too limiting. So that's it for the quick recap. If my quick recap wasn't enough, be sure to check out my previous Elden Ring videos to get a better idea.
Magic Weapons.
Alright, let's get into a bunch of magic weapons. These are special weapons where you can't change their Ash of War, trading in versatility for specificity.
Lazuli Glintstone Sword.
First and lowest in rarity, the Lazuli Glintstone Sword. This uncommon longsword is a +1 weapon, so up to your DM whether to use the scaling optional rule version or the simpler version of just adding +1 to the attack and damage rolls. Its Ash of War is the Glintstone Pebble, which adds the magic affinity, allowing you to use some of your big brain to this weapon. Its Battle Art is a simple short-range projectile that deals a piddly 1d4 force damage, but allows you to move and attack for free if you hit.
Reduvia.
Next, the Reduvia. This uncommon bloody dagger is one of the earliest ones you get in the game, so up to your DM how late or early they want this weapon to come in. This is the first of the weapons I'm covering that doesn't have an affinity, but dictates its scaling changes in its description. The Reduvia's Battle Art grants you a new ranged attack that deals 2d4 necrotic damage on a hit.
Moonveil.
We're now entering the rare weapons. The Moonveil is one of the more meta weapons in Elden Ring, especially early on. This one adds a fairly generous intelligence scaling and reduces strength and dexterity scaling. Its special Ash of War also adds force damage to the weapon, so it's basically a modified magic affinity. The real star of this weapon though is the Battle Art, the Transient Moonlight. As a bonus action, you can sheath your weapon, then use your reaction to release the weapon's famous Quick Draw Energy Wave. Said wave gives you 2 different options, which determines the kind of area of effect. Either option, it's either dex save for 3d8 force damage.
Rivers of Blood.
Halfway through, and this is one of the very rare and very infamous Rivers of Blood. This is a +2 longsword that deals an additional 2d4 fire and necrotic damage because it just has to be, okay? Splits the bill between dex and charisma with a little bit of strength mixed in. What made this weapon infamous in Elden Ring is its Ash of War Corpse Piler. This one has you make 3 attacks as an action, each of which having a reach of 10 feet and deals an additional 2d8 necrotic damage on a hit. I need to remind you that these have an FP cost that you regain per long rest.
Lion's Greatbow.
Our penultimate weapon today is the Star Scourge's sniper rifle, the Lion's Greatbow. This is on the legendary side of the rarity spectrum, giving it a whopping +3 bonus and another 2d8 force damage on a hit. This one allows you to use more of your strength, but its dexterity scaling is still fairly respectable. Its battle art is Radahn's Reign. This weapon allows you to cast the Ranger's Conjure Volley spell that deals force damage instead of the spell's original damage type.
Dark Moon Greatsword.
Our final weapon for today is our proof of being Ranni's partner, the Dark Moon Greatsword. This is Elden Ring's version of the Moonlight Greatsword, which dates back all the way to the Kingsfield days and even appears in Armored Core. Also, side note, FromSoft, please, we need a new Armored Core game for the PC, please. This is another legendary weapon but has a more modest +2 modifier and some very generous intelligence scaling. Now don't write this off just yet though. The battle art is the Moonlight Greatsword. Buff yourself up as an action and then let loose with a powerful 3d8 cold and force damage attack. If you've got extra attack, you can definitely pile on another one. If you charge it, however, well, now you're cooking. Freezing. 98 if you're willing to risk the charging cost. And this buff lasts a minute. That just about wraps up the weapons, but before you go, be sure to check out the Ko-Fi link in the description for a bunch of other magic weapons, magic items, and even optional rules. I even made an equivalent magic item to the Crimson and Cerulean flasks, which basically function as long rest regenerating potions that restore HP or FP and can be upgraded with golden seeds and sacred tears. Also check out the new optional rules, which have a bunch of new conditions that make use of the different damage types for additional effects. Show your love for this homebrew by liking and subscribing. Feel free to put in any item requests in the comment section below, and remember to share this with your dog. This has been my wife is DMC. I'm DMV, and I'll see you in the next Husbando Homebrew.